This is Unit 2, Week 1, just kind of a discussion or vocabulary review. For those of you paranoid about your quiz, not that ever be any students in my class. Anyway, Shays' Rebellion, really important idea. It's debatable how true this was, but there was a rebellion of farmers in Massachusetts who were demanding that they get paid and provided for as having fought in the American Revolution. They marched on the state capitol. It appeared that the state of Massachusetts might not be able to handle this insurrection in its own state. So many think that this was kind of an incentive or a reason that led many to think that maybe they needed a stronger national government, which they got at the Constitutional Convention, because of this uprising of farmers, and if any small state couldn't handle affairs within its own state, maybe they needed a stronger national body. And the Articles of Confederation weren't that. The Northwest Ordinance, huge issue. The only thing accomplished under the Articles of Confederation, the national government didn't do a lot, had a hard time. It had to have a supermajority to get anything done. But they did solve what to do with this land. After the Revolution, well, all these different states had claims in the western, on the other side of the Appalachian Mountains. The United States went all the way to the Mississippi River. But who owned the extra land? Many had charters that overlapped. Maryland, Virginia, or Pennsylvania, and New York had claims of land that were overlapping from one another. And coastal states that had no land next to them on the western frontier were all angry, of course, that some other state would control that. So what did they come up with? They decided that Congress would be in charge of the territories, and that eventually there would be more states that could be added to this original 13. A profound concept that the U.S. would be an extended republic that came about from the Northwest Ordinance about what to do with the old Northwest, modern day area of Michigan and Wisconsin, Indiana, states in that area. Remember, that was the Northwest when the U.S. ended at the Mississippi River. Central government. People were afraid of a central government. Enough said. They didn't like it. They fought a revolution to get rid of a strong monarch, and yet they had to make one, or ended up making one. Very controversial. On the Magna Carta, the first of many, many constitutions, small c. And the king was forced to limit his power, and Parliament got additional power balanced against the king. So it's the beginning of the check and balance between legislative and executive branch in Britain that gets picked up on in the U.S. And small c constitution, important. Any system of written laws is a small c constitution. We in the U.S. have the gall to call ours the Constitution, as if it's the only one. Conservative and liberal should be pretty straightforward. In terms of documents, the Declaration of Independence, much more liberal, liking change than the U.S. Constitution. The Declaration of Independence says, these are we hold these truths to be self-evident. People have a necessary right. If they're denied their rights, they must stand up and rebel and revolt. That's way more liberal than controlling, limiting power in the U.S. Constitution. Continental dollars. A lot of people didn't want the money as U.S. soldiers. They were paid during the Constitutional Convention. They wanted hard money. They wanted English money or coin that had real value to the metal. Tariffs are a tax on a foreign good. The Townsend Acts, colonists boycotted these, tariffs, these charges on imported goods. And Confederation is an important concept because it's a loose association of members. The United Nations is a confederate government. It can't tell the United States, a member of the UN, what to do. Ultimately, the parts are more powerful than the center. And, the 3/5 compromise, maybe the dumbest thing ever. But based on who was going to be involved in Congress, who was going to get to vote, first they had to decide, would it be based equal for all states or on population? Once they decided that part of it would be population, it was, what are people? Do slaves count as people? Here's the funny thing. The southern states said, yes, they count as people. Well, in terms of counting up how many people we have, for how many votes and seats we should have in Congress, not that they were going to let them actually vote. And oddly enough, the northern states said, no, they're property, therefore they should be taxed. Kind of the reverse of what you would think instinctively. But they settled on this, well, we'll count 3/5 of the total number of people, other persons. They didn't even have the heart to write slavery in the Constitution. So 3/5 of the slave population would be added to figure out how many people they had for population. And 3/5 for taxation too. Hamilton, major guy, strong. He wanted a century. He wanted a monarch. He wanted a king. He is an absolute strong defender of a strong national or federal centralized government. Framers or founders, it's a general term for people of this era. It's often said, what did the framers think? Well, it's kind of an impossible question because, it's plural. There's more than one. The Constitution was a compromise. On top of that, when they were debating whether to ratify it in the states, there are multiple framers, and then they didn't all agree. But framers or founders is a term used to refer to those in the early Republic period and those that wrote and debated the Constitution. And those that were in favor of of supporting the Constitution and ratifying and approving it were Federalists, because they were in favor of a federal government. Remember, they didn't say national, that was their dirty word. And then there were the Anti-Federalists, which is amazing. They were against ratifying the Constitution. Many of the earliest firebrands, radicals in the American Revolution, Patrick Henry, Sam Adams, they were Anti-Federalists. They didn't want to support this new, more conservative government, this new national government with more power than the states. They fought to get states and local governments power. Anyways, that's it. Vocabulary review. Hope that helps. Good luck, and that's it from the Happy House of History.